Yes, YouTube is being sued for addiction. That is the simple fact at the heart of one of the largest and most important legal battles in the history of the internet. You have probably heard the headlines, seen the moral panic, and assumed that this is just another case about parents being upset over what their kids are watching. The common belief is that this lawsuit is about bad content, like videos promoting self-harm or eating disorders. The assumption is that this is a content moderation problem, but that is not what this case is about. Not really. The truth, buried in thousands of pages of court filings, reveals a much deeper and more dangerous allegation. This lawsuit isn't about the content on YouTube. It's about the design of YouTube itself. The plaintiffs, a massive group including hundreds of families, school districts, and dozens of state attorneys general, are arguing that features like YouTube Shorts and Autoplay are not just engaging, they are defective and dangerous products, built with the same psychological hooks as a slot machine. In the next few minutes, we are going to unpack the digital evidence and legal arguments at the center of this case, known as the social media multi-district litigation. I've gone through the court dockets and legal analysis to map out what is happening, and the reality is far more shocking than the headlines. We will find out what specific features are the lawyers targeting, why do they believe they can finally win a case that seems impossible to win, and most importantly, how will they try to prove that YouTube knew its platform was harmful to children? The answer to these questions could not only cost Google billions, but it could fundamentally change the internet you use every day. The first artifact we need to understand is not a video or a post, but a legal concept that has protected YouTube for decades: Section 230. This law is the reason this lawsuit should be impossible. So how are the plaintiffs getting around it? This is the entire key to the case. For nearly 30 years, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act has been the shield that protects all social media companies. In simple terms, it says that a platform like YouTube is not responsible for what its users post. If someone uploads a harmful or defamatory video, you can sue the person who uploaded it, but you cannot sue YouTube for hosting it. This law treats YouTube as a publisher or a bulletin board, not the creator of the content. Every previous lawsuit that tried to hold a platform responsible for the content it recommended has failed, crashing against the wall of Section 230. But the lawyers in this new case, filed in the Northern District of California, are trying something different. It's a brilliant legal strategy. They are not suing YouTube for the content their algorithm recommends. Instead, they're suing YouTube for defective product design. This is a product liability claim. They're arguing that YouTube, the platform itself, is a product, and that specific features of this product are dangerously defective. Think of it this way. If a car manufacturer builds a car with brakes that they know will fail, they are liable for the crash. It doesn't matter if the driver was speeding, the product was defective. The plaintiffs are arguing that features like infinite scroll, autoplay, and the intermittent variable rewards of the Shorts feed are the legal equivalent of faulty brakes. They're targeting the platform's mechanics, not the user-generated videos. For example, they argue that the platform's failure to implement meaningful age verification or effective parental controls is a design defect. They argue the constant stream of push notifications is a defective feature designed to create compulsion. In a landmark ruling, Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers, who's overseeing this massive case, has largely agreed that these claims can proceed. She has ruled that Section 230 does not necessarily protect companies from liability for the design of their platforms. This ruling was the legal earthquake that blew the case wide open. It means that for the first time, YouTube won't be able to just say, "We're not responsible for the content." They will have to defend the very design of their algorithm and user interface in court. The lawsuit has successfully reframed YouTube. It is no longer just a neutral publisher. In the eyes of this court, it is a manufacturer of a digital product that may be harming its users. But to win, the plaintiffs have to prove more than just a bad design. They have to prove that YouTube knew it was dangerous. This brings us to the most shocking part of the case, the part that moves this from a legal theory into something much more damaging. To prove a product liability claim, you must show that the company was negligent, that they knew about the defect and the harm it caused, and they shipped the product anyway to make a profit. This is why the entire lawsuit has become a brutal, high-stakes war over a single thing: Google's internal documents. The plaintiffs are not just guessing that the algorithm is harmful. They are alleging that Google has internal research, metrics, and communications that prove it. They believe Google's own data scientists and researchers have warned executives that the YouTube platform, especially for young users, was contributing to anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and addictive behaviors. This fight over documents is the heart of the entire multi-district litigation. We're talking about millions of pages of internal emails, memos, and research studies. And we have a terrifying preview of what they might find. In a related proceeding against Meta, another defendant in this same MDL, a judge made a stunning ruling in late October 2025. The judge found that Meta's lawyers had advised their own internal researchers to remove and block findings related to the harm their platforms caused to teens. The court ruled that these communications were not protected by attorney-client privilege because they fell under the crime fraud exception. This means the judge believed there was sufficient evidence that the legal advice was being used to cover up potential wrongdoing. This is the smoking gun. The plaintiffs' lawyers in the case against YouTube are now alleging the exact same pattern. They are fighting to get their hands on Google's internal studies about YouTube's effect on youth mental health. They have already requested documents related to YouTube's crisis management policies and youth safety measures. The goal is to find the email. The goal is to find the memo from a data scientist to a product manager that says, "Our new Shorts algorithm is increasing engagement by 20%, but our internal data also shows a correlation with a spike in self-harm searches among female users under 16. If they find that document, the case changes overnight. It becomes a story not of innovation, but of negligence. It proves knowledge. Google's official stance, from a spokesperson named Jose Castandeda, is that these allegations are simply not true and fundamentally misunderstand how YouTube works. But the battle for those internal documents will determine if that statement holds up in court. This lawsuit is not just about code. It's about what the coders knew. So what exactly is the defective design the lawyers keep talking about? Let's focus on YouTube Shorts. The lawsuit claims that the short feed is not just a feature, it is a psychologically manipulative device. The central mechanism they cite is a concept from behavioral psychology called intermittent variable rewards. This may sound complicated, but you already know exactly what it is. It is the core design principle of a slot machine. When you pull the lever on a slot machine, you don't know what you're going to get. You might get nothing, you might get a small win, you might hit the jackpot. This uncertainty, this intermittent reward, is what makes it so addictive. It floods your brain with dopamine, the chemical of anticipation and reward. It compels you to pull the lever just one more time. Now think about the YouTube Shorts feed. You open the app, you swipe your thumb, you get a video. It might be boring, it might be mildly interesting, or it might be the funniest, most shocking, or most validating video you've seen all day. That is the jackpot. That swipe, that scroll, is the new lever. The lawsuit alleges that Google and other platforms intentionally engineered this mechanism to exploit the same vulnerability in the human brain that casinos exploit. It is designed to put users, especially children whose brains are still developing impulse control, into what experts call a flow state, a sort of trance where they scroll mindlessly for hours. The legal filings, which include testimony from child psychologists and neuroscientists, argue that this isn't an accident. It is a deliberate choice. The infinite scroll means there is no bottom, no natural stopping point. The autoplay feature on regular YouTube videos does the same thing, removing the friction of having to make a choice, keeping you on the platform longer. The plaintiffs argue that for children, this design is not just sticky, it's addictive in a clinical sense. They allege it contributes to the documented rise in youth mental health issues, displacing sleep, in-person interaction, and schoolwork. The lawsuit is an attempt to force the court to rule that this intermittent variable reward loop is a design defect. They are arguing that YouTube built a digital slot machine aimed at children and then expressed shock when they couldn't stop playing. But the defect, they argue, is not just the mechanic of the swipe, it's the intelligence behind it. This leads us to the algorithm itself. The common defense of the recommendation algorithm is that it's just a neutral tool that gives users what they want. If you watch a lot of cooking videos, it gives you more cooking videos. The plaintiffs in this lawsuit argue this is a dangerous misrepresentation. They claim the algorithm is not designed to give you what you want. It is designed to maximize one single thing: engagement. And the algorithm has learned, through machine learning, that the content that often generates the most engagement is not the most helpful, but the most extreme. The lawsuit alleges that the YouTube algorithm actively recommends and amplifies harmful content to vulnerable users, particularly minors. The example cited in many of these cases is that of a young user who might innocently search for healthy eating tips. The algorithm, seeking to maximize engagement, may then recommend content about clean eating, then calorie counting, then extreme dieting, and within a short period, it can be pushing content that actively promotes eating disorders. The same pathway has been alleged for users showing mild signs of sadness, who are then guided toward content about depression, then hopelessness, and ultimately self-harm and suicide. The plaintiffs argue this isn't a bug, this is the system working as intended. It has learned that extreme content is stickier and keeps users on the platform longer, which in turn allows YouTube to serve more ads and make more money. This claim is also at the center of the Section 230 fight. Google argues that its recommendations are editorial choices protected by the First Amendment. The plaintiffs countered that this is not an editorial choice, it is a product feature. They argue that the algorithm is a delivery system for harm, a defectively designed product that, when used as intended, exposes children to dangerous content they never would have found on their own. The case is asking a question that has never been successfully answered in court. Can an algorithm be held liable for the pathways it creates? Is the code itself a defective product? If the answer is yes, the entire business model of the attention economy is at risk. So what is Google's defense? As we mentioned, the company denies all of these claims. In multiple motions to dismiss the case, Google and the other tech giants have presented two main arguments. The first, and most powerful, is Section 230. Despite Judge Rogers' ruling, they are still fighting to have the case dismissed on these grounds. They argue that these product design claims are just a backdoor attempt to hold them liable for user-generated content, which Section 230 explicitly forbids. They argue that you cannot separate the design of the platform from the content it hosts. In their view, any harm comes from the content, and for that, they are immune. Their second major argument is the First Amendment. Google's lawyers have argued that the act of recommending content, even algorithmically, is a form of speech. They are acting as an editor or a publisher, making choices about what to show you. They claim that the government cannot tell them how to design their algorithm any more than it can tell the New York Times what to put on its front page. They claim that interfering with their algorithm would be a violation of their constitutional right to free speech. In a statement on the litigation, a YouTube spokesperson said, "We have invested heavily in creating safe experiences for children across our platforms and have introduced strong protections and dedicated features to prioritize their well-being." They point to the existence of YouTube Kids, parental controls, and policies that remove harmful content as proof that they are not negligent. In essence, Google's defense is that it is a publisher protected by the law, not a manufacturer of a product. It argues that any harms are the fault of bad actors uploading bad content, or are simply a reflection of a pre-existing youth mental health crisis, not something YouTube caused. The plaintiffs, of course, argue that this is like a car company saying, "We build safe cars,"
while simultaneously selling a car without seatbelts and brakes, and then blaming the driver for the inevitable crash. The entire case will come down to which of these two analogies the jury believes is more accurate. If this all sounds familiar, it should. A massive industry, a product used by billions, growing evidence that the product causes severe public harm, especially to children, and most importantly, allegations that the companies knew about the harm from their own internal research and lied about it. This is not a new story. This is the exact legal playbook that was used to take on the tobacco industry in the 1990s. This lawsuit is consciously modeled on the big tobacco litigation. For decades, tobacco companies successfully defended themselves by saying that smoking was a personal choice and that the harms were not proven. The case that broke the industry open was not about the act of smoking, it was a product liability lawsuit. And it was won when a series of whistleblowers and leaks produced thousands of pages of internal documents. These documents, like the infamous Brown and Williamson files, proved that the company's own scientists had known for decades that nicotine was highly addictive and that their product caused cancer. The documents proved the companies knew and they lied. This is what the plaintiffs are looking for. They are searching for the big tobacco memos inside Google. The lawyers in this case are positioning social media as the big tobacco of the 21st century. They are arguing that the addictive product is not nicotine, but the dopamine loop of the algorithm. They are arguing that the public harm is not lung cancer, but a nationwide youth mental health crisis. The school districts that are suing are a key part of this. They are suing for public nuisance, claiming they are being forced to spend millions of dollars on mental health services, counselors, and anti-addiction programs to clean up the toxic waste spilled by these platforms. This is the same legal argument states used to recoup healthcare costs from tobacco companies. This lawsuit is not just about a few families. It is an attempt to hold an entire industry to account, using the one legal strategy that has been proven to work against a multi-trillion-dollar industry that claimed its product was safe. This is why this case is so much more than another headline. What we have proven today is that this is not a simple lawsuit about bad content. This is a radical illegal assault on the fundamental business model of the internet. The plaintiffs have successfully argued that a platform's design can be a defective product. They are now in a high-stakes hunt for the internal documents they believe will prove Google knew this product was harming children, and they are using the exact playbook that brought the tobacco industry to its knees. This lawsuit is a pivotal moment in internet history. It is forcing the legal system to decide if an algorithm can be held responsible for the harm it causes. Is the YouTube algorithm just a neutral mirror reflecting society, or is it an active engine creating and amplifying that harm for profit? The outcome will not just decide the future of YouTube Shorts. It will define the next 30 years of digital life and platform responsibility. The internet is built on algorithms, feedback loops, and engagement metrics. Understanding these systems is no longer optional. It is essential. To see how another platform's core mechanics were exposed, click on the video on your screen now to join our Digital Deep Dives playlist. It is the essential next step to understanding the hidden architecture that shapes our world.